Welcome to Miss Lipo's art class. Hope everybody is doing well. I want to share with you with one of my favorite artists, Georgia O'Keeffe. We're going to read a book called Georgia in Hawaii, where Georgia O'Keeffe painted what she pleased by Amy Novesky and illustrated by Yuyi Morales. We're going to create a work of art of flowers or plants up close using the Create standard, the Visual Art Create standard, to investigate, plan, and make a work of art. So I want to encourage you later to use Discovery Education, internet, books, magazines, ads to find flowers and plants that interest you the most, that what you please. Just like Georgia O'Keeffe, she painted what she pleased, and I want you to create the type of flowers or plants that you want to today by you doing some investigation and planning so that you can make your work of art. Where would you want to go right now? What type of place interests you the most? So this book is about the state of Hawaii and all the different native flowers and plants there. But where would you want to go? And that could be something that you investigate when you're looking for your plants or flowers to create. Georgia in Hawaii, when Georgia O'Keeffe painted what she pleased, by Amy Novesky, illustrated by Yuyi Morales. Georgia O'Keeffe was famous for painting exactly what she wanted, whether flowers or skulls. Who would ever dare to tell Georgia what to paint? The Hawaiian Pineapple Company tried. Lucky for them, Georgia fell in love with Hawaii. There, she painted the beloved green islands, vibrant flowers, feathered fish hooks, and the blue, blue sea. But did she paint what the Pineapple Company wanted most of all? Let's find out. I do want to show you this page because it has some beautiful native Hawaiian flowers. This is called a silver cup, heliconia, which is also called a lobster claws, plumeria, bird of paradise, philodendron, lotus, torch ginger, hibiscus, and I think, hopefully I'm saying this correctly, Nana Hanua. Georgia in Hawaii, when Georgia O'Keeffe painted what she pleased. So Georgia actually lived in New York City, and she had to travel by train all the way to California so that she could get on this boat to take her to the islands of Hawaii. After 5 days at sea, Georgia O'Keeffe arrived on a green island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. She was greeted with silver coins and leis of plumeria, wild ginger, and crownflower. Aloha, Georgia! It was February 1939, and the Hawaiian Pineapple Company had invited the famous artist to tour Hawaii. They wanted her to create 2 paintings to promote the delights of pineapple juice. Georgia visited the pineapple fields soon after her arrival on the island of Oahu. She found the sharp and silvery fruit quite strange and beautiful. She wanted to live nearby so that she could study it up close. But the Pineapple Company would not let her. Only workers lived near the fields, they said. Georgia protested that she was a worker too, and she could live wherever she wanted. The company refused to allow it. Instead, they presented her with a pineapple. Georgia was disgusted. She did not want to paint the fruit now that it had been picked, and she would not let anyone tell her what to paint. Despite the pineapple trouble, Georgia started her tour. She flew to the island of Maui. There she stayed on an old sugar plantation at the edge of a rainforest and carried a paper umbrella when it rained. In a borrowed banana wagon, she drove the tightly winding mountain roads. Georgia went where she wanted, when she wanted. See the waterfalls and the birds up here, different plants. And Georgia painted. I really like this image here because it's one of the waterfall paintings that she did. And at the Brooks Museum of Art here in Memphis, Tennessee, the art museum owns a Georgia O'Keeffe waterfall painting that she did when she was in Hawaii. And they actually had a Georgia O'Keeffe exhibition show about a year and a half ago at the Brooks Museum, and it was amazing to see. So they had that one, the one that was included with they had this one that was included, and they also had all the other paintings that she did when she was on this Hawaiian trip. Georgia painted waterfalls and green painted mountains, lava hardened into fantastic shapes, and delicate feathered fishhooks that she collected like seashells. And Georgia painted the blue, blue sea. This is that fishhook. Next, she traveled by steamer to the great big island of Hawaii, where she admired volcanoes that rose thousands of feet into the sky. She walked on black sand beaches reached only by boat and studied a rare piece of red coral. I see that red coral hiding right there. She met the local cattle ranchers, or paniolo. These Hawaiian cowboys showed her their gardens. And Georgia painted flowers, bird of paradise and philodendron, foot-long heliconia and fragrant plumeria, torch ginger and silvercup, lotus and hibiscus. She painted nanahanua that she picked by the side of the road. It reminded Georgia of her favorite desert flower, the Jimson weed. In Kauai, her last stop, Georgia visited with local artists. She stayed at the seaside home of a former Hawaiian queen near Kolola, a small mill town surrounded by fields of wild sugar cane. Soon she was used to the scent of burning sugar in the air. Georgia was even starting to look like an island girl, like she was getting a tan. But too soon, Georgia's Hawaiian tour was over. It was now April, and time for her to return home. From the deck of an elegant ocean liner, Georgia watched the green islands grow smaller and smaller until it was just her and the sea and the sky. Georgia had created nearly 20 paintings of Hawaii, but she had not painted a pineapple. Instead, she gave the Hawaiian Pineapple Company paintings of the heliconia flower and a papaya tree. They were not happy. They wanted a pineapple. Georgia was not happy either. She was not going to be told what to paint. But then she thought about Hawaii and all that it had given her. She decided to give the company what they wanted. 36 hours later, a Hawaiian pineapple arrived at Georgia's penthouse in New York City. Though Georgia didn't need it, when she closed her eyes, she could still see Hawaii and its sharp and beautiful fruit. So looking here, what kind of perspective do you think she is painting that pineapple? Doesn't look like she's painting it straight on like you would look at the pineapple. It looks like she's looking down into the pineapple. I love how she has different perspectives of the things that she creates. And Georgia painted a pineapple. So here is one of her shows at an art gallery, and there is the pineapple pineapple painting that she made. And like I said earlier, it's a different perspective. It's looking down at the pineapple, not where you would see, the oval shape of the fruit and the spiky parts on the yellow parts of the fruit. And here is the islands of Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. Now, what I want, like I said earlier, what I want you to do is I want you to decide, where would you want to go? Or what type of place interests you the most? Take that as a starting off point, and then you can start researching flowers and plants that are native, that means that's where they're from, that are native to that part of the world. Choose anywhere in the world that you want. It does not have to be Hawaii like Georgia O'Keeffe. It doesn't have to be something that's here in Memphis. It can be anywhere. I want you to decide what kind of flower or plant you want to create. And I want you to draw it up close. Try to fill the page. Make it as big as you want. Now, I decided to draw a flower that I had found, and I can't remember what flower it was, but I found a picture of a flower, and I started to draw it, and I was drawing it larger than life. And I'm using a variety of different materials. I have markers, crayons, pen. I even did a crayon rubbing. And I want you to use really whatever you have available at home. So that's really important. Just if you don't have a piece of paper, try to use maybe the piece of cardboard that you might have on a cereal box. So you might use a piece of cardboard. If you don't have anything to color with, you could always just use pencil or a pen. Use whatever you have available. And I'm going to show you a couple different techniques because I started this one already. And so one thing that I did, so you can see here, I did not finish coloring that in. Some of my students know this already, that if my marker is getting kind of low, I don't like to throw them away. I like to keep them because I want to end up using them as paint. So what I can do is I can get a cup of water, a paintbrush. If you don't have a paintbrush, you could always use maybe a Q-tip or something like that. And what you're going to do is that ink from the marker, adding that with water is going to turn into a paint. And sometimes it takes a little bit to activate, to make it work. Just a little bit to make it work. So I could always do a technique like that or use that material. I use 2 different color greens to kind of separate them. See which one works better. This one's kind of working a little bit easier, but I like how I have a light and a dark one. And I'm just kind of rinsing my brush off a little bit in between, just so that I'm not mixing colors, especially if you're using other colors, maybe like a green and a red. And if we mix those in the same, it's going to turn a brownish color. So you can use marker. So all I did was I started coloring, tracing, kind of making thicker lines. And I kind of just outline it a few times, like you saw earlier here. And then I can start filling that in with using my water and my paintbrush. So that's always a fun way that you can use materials. I did outline this with a pen. I like to outline my pencils with a pen and then I erased it. I was also using a variety of materials. I was trying to find different shades of pinks and purples. So I have grabbed a few different color markers and crayons so that I can finish this up. Oh, and I forgot one leaf over there. And maybe I want to use this color right here. I hadn't used that one yet. So I am going to probably finish mine up with the leaves in this technique. That's the way I'm doing things. And then for the background, what I did was I'm using a texture tool. And since you might not have texture plates like we do at school, I used a tangerine bag. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that tangerine bag underneath my paper. I'm going to set my paper on top. And hopefully this isn't going to wiggle my tablet. But if it does, sorry about the shaking. And I'm going to use the side of my crayon to rub. And it doesn't have to be fast so that you can get those spaces. And I don't want to, get it on the leaves because I still want to make those green. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of yellow. So you might want to do 2 tones of color. And you could even move the bag a little bit so you get a different kind of texture. Really use whatever you can find if you want to make texture in the background. So I encourage you to create, to make today a beautiful flower or plant, but paint what you please. Be like Georgia. Think about what makes you happy, and I want you to create what you please. Hope you guys have a wonderful time.